right? And these are different modules that you have in user administration. Yeah, these are different modules in user administration. We started with user, where we went ahead and we saw the list of users available here. Then we went ahead and created a training user one, and then allowed this person, initially we allowed this person a web service only user account credential, and then we provided it, the UI access role as well, so that user could log into system and uh, work on the UI, right? So that's how we create users. But there is one more way of creating a user. How about you may argue, does ServiceNow provide any way to do self-registration or something? Can you self-register yourself and get an account created? By default, that is not available, right? If let's do a quick check here. If I go to one of my other instances, or maybe if I go to the same instance here, and I'm opening it in another browser so that I have to see the login page, right? On the login page, in my case, you see a new a note here which says request a user account, right? And it says if you do not have a user account, you can request one using the self-service registration, right? Now this message will not always appear. If I go to my other instance and let me pick this and go ahead and use my other instance here to see the login page, I will not see that message there. Any idea why is that? See, that message is not here. I do not see a self-registration page. But on this account, this instance, I have this self-registration page, right? So the reason behind this is this feature is not by default available in ServiceNow. You have to activate this feature by activating something known as plugins, right? ServiceNow has various plugins that provides various features to it to users, but not all of them would be activated by default, right? You have to pick those plugins which are useful for you, and then you have to manually activate it, and then after the activation, you will be able to see those things, right? So let's quickly go ahead and see how we can find out plugins. So I'm going to plugins. So we have within system definition, we have a plugin module, right? So all you need to do is you need to start typing system definition. When you type system definition, you'll get a list of modules available. Scroll through it and go and find plugin. Let's see where this plugin is. Here we go. Here we have plugins in here, right? Now I'll go into plugins, and then within plugins, I know that there is one plugin known as user registration request plugin, right? This plugin has to be activated in order that you can see this link here on the home page or login page, right? Let's go and see. I'll use the search bar here and I'll search user red, something like this, and it will bring me to the user registration plugin. I can go ahead and see the details of it, right? The detail view can also be seen here, where you can see that the status of this plugin is active, right? This plugin was initially not active. If I go into the other instance here and I log in, Now let's go and find out if the plugin is there in this instance, and if it is there, is it actually activated? I'll directly go to plugins, search plugins, and then this is the other instance, and I'll do user rex, and I get this. The status of it is inactive right now. If you have seen this, say this the status of this plugin is inactive. That is the reason why you are not able to see this request a user account link on the login page. Let's go ahead and activate this plugin. So to activate this plugin, it's very simple activity. All you need to do is select the right plugin, click on the link that is created for that plugin, and then within that plugin you have a UI, you have a related link here, related link which is an action available for you to perform that says activate or upgrade, right? I can go ahead and click on this activate or upgrade. Once I do that, it will ask for confirmation for activation of user registration request. I'll go ahead and confirm this. Once I confirm, this is user registration activity, user registration request plugin will be activated. Now with this plugin, there are several things that happens, right? First of all, this link on the login page will appear. Let's go back. Now on the same instance, I can see that request a user account link has appeared here, right? Now user can click on this self-registration form and then provide some basic information as requested and submit it, right? So if there is some issue with this browser or something, the two controls are not appearing. If you go to the self-registration form, so you will get controls like this, where you have to fill in your name, first name, last name, and then your email ID, and the system will then process your request. There are two things. It can be auto-processed or it can be approved by the administrators, right? So when you put a request, for example, if I put a request for some email, let's do this. And if I submit this, see, there are validation put in place. It says a user account for this email ID already exists in the system, right? And it says invalid insert. So this is one of the features. When I talked about that, by activating this plugin, you will have several things inserted, included into the system. The one is the user registration page. The other one is some action or activity available in ServiceNow that will validate whether the email ID that you provide in the system is already created into the system or not. Why we are validating user email ID? Because the system will create a user ID using your email ID, right? User account will be created using your email ID. So that's why it's validating if this email ID is there in the system or not. If I go ahead and simply do this, change the email ID, right? Let's, let's put my name here. And I submit it. This user ID, this email ID is not used in any user accounts in system. So it says primary email device created for Rahul. Your request has been processed. You will receive an email shortly with username and temporary password. Right? Now, it says your request has been processed, which means this is an automated process, right? It automatically did that. So how do we make sure that the system automatically approves the user registration request? That's a question, right? To automatically process the user registration request, there is something known as a property within the system, right? There are different properties that we use to configure our system, right? Like the properties for configuring this UI, right? Setting up the email, etc. On the same lines, you have different other properties that you'll be using to configure different stuff. How can you do that? One way of doing that is you go to system administration. You have these links here, these cards. Pick the card, the appropriate card that you want to edit. Go into and then change the change the property values there, right? But the other way would be you need to go to system properties, and within system properties you have different other modules. See, this one talks about basic configuration. This talks about my company UI property, etc. Right? Right now, we are discussing about activating a property that will make sure that user registration request is automatically processed. Right? So let's go and find out where that is. I know that the automatic user registration process approval property is available in the system module of system properties application. I'll go to system module and there are different properties available here. I'll go and pick the one required for me. See, there is one property known as enable auto processing of user registration request. When enabled, user accounts will be automatically created, right? This has been enabled for me. I kept it enabled. When I keep it enabled, any user registration request to this instance will be automatically processed. I'm just disabling it and I'll go back to the home page, go to self-registration form and then fill my name, use a different email ID and then submit it. Right? Now see the message. Since I deactivated the property of auto approval of user request creation, what is the message that I'm getting now? It is saying your request has been submitted and is pending review, right? If it was not activated, this request would not have been pending review, it would have been automatically processed, right? And it says you will receive an email when your request is processed. So this time the request is not processed. So that's the difference. Okay? Let's go ahead and find out if I received an email from the system, right? We created a user ID using my email ID of outlook.com. Before that, I also created a user ID here using this email ID, and after creating that user, I got an email from the system. See, it came from dev11937 at servicenow.com. So this is my default email ID for the instance. Using this email ID, I received an email to my email ID rahul.rakesh86 at gmail.com. The subject would be user registration process, right? And then within the body, I am getting to see this. Hello Rahul, the account you requested for assistant service now has been processed. You may now access this application using this credential. So you have this user ID and the password supported here, right? So this is a temporary password. Now use this user ID and password to log into the system. This is the email ID. Let's go for the password, which is a temporary password in this case. I'll copy paste it and I log in. So when I log in, it asks me to provide current password reset. So it asked me to reset the password, and I have to provide the current password, which is a temporary password, and then the new password that I am choosing for myself, right? So if I go ahead and find out that user, let's go here. I'll quickly leave it as is, and I'll wait a second. Let's quickly go into other browser. I am right now logged in as an admin. I'll go and see the user ID that we just created and try to find out if the password reset checkbox was checked for that user or not. I'll go to users. See, the other user ID account creation request has also arrived here. I'll go to this one, which is of interest right now, and see, this user ID was automatically created, but then you see that password needs reset has been set to true, right? That's the reason when I go here on this instance, right, and try to log in as this user, it will ask me to reset the password, right? You can go ahead and reset your password. Other things to note here is there is no role associated to this user right now, no delegate, no subscription. The password field is blank right now because it is asking for resetting it, and the user account is active. It's not an internal integration user. It's not a web service access only user, right? Now let's go ahead and reset the password. I just reset the password for that user, and if I go back on this browser and I try to reload form, see, I want you to look at the password needs reset input field, right? As soon as I reset it, refresh it, I'll get this checkbox cleared, right? So the system takes care of it. The moment you reset the password, the checkbox there for resetting password will go away, right? Your user ID has been created successfully already. Now you will be able to log in using that user ID into the ServiceNow instance, right? And this is how we create. We allow user to request for a registration, request for account. Um, if we have enabled the automatic processing, it will go ahead and automatically be processed by the system, and the user ID will be created for you. If it is not allowed to get automatic registration done, then it will settle down in the pending processing. What's the term? User registration. Pending user registration, right? So it will go ahead into this pending user registration request. This is another module that you have here. Within user administration, you have a pending user registration. This module comes when you activate the plugin for user registration. Make sense? Before that, this will not be available. If you go ahead and find out this link in your instance, you will be unable to find out pending user registration module there, right? But since that I have activated the plugin for user registration, I can see this pending user registration here. I can go ahead, pick the user here. Now I can either reject the user account or I can create a user account by hitting this UI related link, right? If I do create user, the system will go ahead and create a new user with the email ID rahul.rakesh@yourassist.com, and this email ID that I have will receive an email from the system, and that will provide the user a user ID and password, and then you can go ahead and log in there. So that's how this the user registration request is fulfilled. Make sense? See, I just received this email from the system, right? It says that my user ID is created in ServiceNow instance this. Make sense? Questions? Please ask if you have any question.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Shweta.
I had a doubt. Today morning I tried a lot. I entered into the website, like I registered my email address and I log in it. I tried up to the instance page. Where I'm getting stuck is like the same problem. I'm unable to log inside the instance. But whereas you're asking to in this navigate bar, you're asking to use user admin and all that, but I'm unable to go into the instance itself. Actually, there I'm getting stuck with the user ID and password. How many times I'm able to give it, but still it is asking current password and new password. It's not going further anyways to get practice
I am
today.
making you a presenter. Can you present your screen so that we can see, and we can see how what the issue is and we can resolve it. If you can share
Yeah,
your
can you
screen.
just give, yeah, 2 minutes in order to get login? Just
Uh-huh.
give me 2 minutes. Okay.
Kabir, I'll prefer to answer your questions when you ask it. I not always I'll see this chat window, so it becomes difficult because it takes time to understand. So you can directly ask me question as well. Unmute yourself and
Okay.
ask question.
Yeah. Can I ask you now?
Yeah,
Right?
sure. Let me read
Okay.
it. Yeah, go ahead.
How can we create a user account so that when an incident is created
Mhm.
or a request is generated, that user will get email notification.
So for
That user will get email notification saying that okay, this incident has been created, like that.
yeah, that's not related to user account creation. Email notification can
Uh,
be sent to any person who qualifies for an email notification, right? So that is a part of email
okay.
notification. That's not part of user account creation. You will only be able to receive an email if your account has been set up in the system, right? So
Okay.
so user account creation is a process that we are discussing. You have to create a user account. This is one way of creating that user account, right? If you have to
Okay.
send email, you will have to write email notification for that application for which you want to send emails to, right? So that's a different stuff.
Okay. I
Okay.
thought maybe when we create user account, we do some kind of changes, so that we only receive notification. That's what
No,
I thought. Okay.
no. See, all you need to do is you need to enable that user ID to receive emails or not. So that's something that you are allowing that user to receive emails from the system or not, right? Um,
Okay.
then when to send that sorry, when to send that email is something that comes into the scope of the application. For example, if I am into the incident application and I have created an incident notification email for that incident application whenever an incident is created. So that's kind of a notification created, and a business rule is there that will trigger an incident whenever that is created. Any record into the incident table is inserted, right? So that's a different stuff. That's not related to user account creation. Okay?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm ready with the with my screen. Can you able to see it? Sorry, can you able to see it?
I can't see it. I can see a black
Uh,
screen.
oh shit! 1 second.
can see your mouse pointer, but I can't see your screen.
Are
It's
you
just a
are
black.
you able to
No, not yet.
now?
Not yet. Can anybody else see?
Now I can see. I think you have to share the screen, no, Shweta?
Yeah, I'm sharing, but
She's sharing. She. Okay. Let's do one thing, Shweta.
yeah.
Uh, let's do one thing. Um, ask you to. Oh, can you see my screen? Vikrant, Kavi, can you see my screen now? I don't know if.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. I mistakenly kicked Shweta out of the meeting. Sorry about that. So let her come and then we'll guide her. So I assume that there is no more questions around user creation and registration. No? Vikrant and Abhi, you are good? Okay. Yeah, Shweta has arrived. Shweta, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Can you share your
Yeah,
instance URL, your credentials, and I'll try to see what the issue is.
uh,
You can
yeah,
pin here on the
I'm,
chat window.
yeah.
See, Kabhi, what you were asking is the notifications. So that comes into this email notification section, right? If you go and find out the relevant notification, for example, in case of incident, you will have, sorry, I'll go ahead and search on the basis of table. If I go and search on the incident table, I have these many notifications created, right? There are different
Okay.
conditions basis which these notifications will go out, right? I'll need the instance URL as well, Shweta.
Okay, I'm providing.
See, when you create this notification, you have to provide when to send this email, to whom to send this email to, and what to send this email to, right? Here, who will receive, you will provide a group of users or a user, right? So stuff like that. There you decide on creation of an incident, what email should be sent to what person, right? Stuff like that. So we'll come back to this. So that's not related to user account. That's related to notifications, email notifications. Make sense?
So morning I could able to generate that URL, but now it is asking from the starting page only. It is like a login problem. Right from the starting page, even I'm
This
just
is
logged in.
you are using this email ID to log in into developer.servicenow.com.
Yes,
Okay.
and this is the password.
Okay. Hang on a second. I'll just see what the issue is. I assume that Abhi and Vikrant have their own instances. Kabhi, I think you have your own instance, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Keep practicing. Whatever we are doing here, you should be practicing and you should be coming back with questions almost on a daily basis. When you do that, you'll be able to pick up at the pace that we are going on to. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. So this time, this IT service desk email came to me and it says that this account creation request was placed. So this is to Kavi, right? And this is to the account creation request application. That module we have actually went ahead and activated that module there. So for that purpose, you will see that there. Now this is Shweta's instance. There 11952, and then you have reset the password, right? You believe that the password that you have is, let's go ahead and log in as an admin, and let's get the password. Did you keep the same password there?
Yes, of course.
It says username or password invalid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset your password from here, and then I'll use that password. This is your temporary password. I'll copy it. I'll go to this instance, put admin, put the password, login. It will ask for password reset. I'll put the current password, and I'll go ahead and put this password as new password, and I'll submit it. When I submit it, I'm able to log in here with your admin account. Right now, I don't like UI 16, so I'll switch back to UI 15. Now here we go. This is your account you have logged into as system administrator. Done. You may try logging into it. That's resolved. Any issue that you were facing earlier, that has been resolved.
Okay.
Now, so I'll get out of your instance and I'm into my instance now. Now see, there is one more module available here in user administration, which is logged in user, that gives you information about whosoever is logged into the system, right? So if the person has been logged into the system, you will see that person's details here, right? And now you can, as an admin, you can go ahead and maintain these user sessions, these logged in users. Like you can go ahead and lock out the session of the user. For example, if you suspect that 500 users have logged into the system and the system is going down, somebody is running something that is not desirable, so you can go ahead and you can readily go ahead and lock out the user session, right? When you lock out the user session, that user will go to the login page, right? He will not be able to continue his work on the instance and he'll be redirected to the login page. So for that, you have this logged in user where you can go ahead and see who are the logged in users to the system. Okay, makes sense. And it provides you different details like, is it an active user or not? What is the last transaction that he has done? The transaction duration, last access date. So I, as a ServiceNow administrator, may go ahead and see and find out those users for whom the transaction duration is quite high, right? If the transaction duration is quite high, it means that there is some process, some background process that is getting stuck for that user and that is making my instance slow or something, right? So if I have to make decisions, I can go ahead and find out information from this report, logged in user, right? And then on the basis of that, I can go ahead and lock out the user session. User will have to re-log in and then continue his work. Right? So that for that you have this logged in user. This is another view, another module that you have, which is known as active transactions. It will show whatever transaction is active in the foreground right now. right? So see, the foreground is equal to true is showing the active transactions. Now you can go ahead within this transaction and see the details of it as well, and whatever transaction is running. So for that you have this active transaction. If you have to see all active transactions, you hit on all active transactions and it will show to you all of the active transactions. It's just a filter on here where you are seeing just the foreground active transactions, but here in all active transactions you will see all the active transactions available, not just foreground ones. If there are background ones, you will see those transactions as well here, right? Pending user registration we have already discussed about, right? Let's go and see departments, what departments are. See, there are different departments within organizations, right? Some of these are already created here: the customer support, development, finance, HR, IT, product management, sales, etc. Right? So when you create users, you might consider associating that user to a particular department, right? Based on your knowledge of where does the user will land into, what department does user will land into, right? So for that, you create departments. When you create departments, you get this view. Let's go ahead and open a new department window. You have to provide the name of the department. You have to provide the ID, a description of it. You identify a department head, which is not mandatory in this case, but you can put a department head, and then you have to provide a primary contact for that department, right? When you open this primary contact lookup field, you will get this information from the user table where you can select the user's primary contact and then you can save it, right? When you save it, departments are created. Now, while creating users, when you create the users, you can go ahead and associate those departments that you have created from here, right? So you are basically attaching a user to a department. So that's why you have departments here, and these departments and users are interrelated. Okay, now let's go ahead and see locations, right? You may work in an organization where there are different departments, and then your organization is located at different locations across the globe, right? So for that, you have to create locations as well that you can utilize, and while you create users, you can associate locations to the user as well, right? So it helps you group the user's information to a particular location, particular department, particular company, etc. Right? I'm not going to create a location because this is a fairly simple, uh, item that that's quite obvious. So I'm not going to create that. Let's go and see what companies contain. When you have companies, when you go into companies field, you can create all those companies you are dealing with, right? For example, um, there could be companies which are vendors to you, right? Your organization. You can also create a company for your own organization. You can create companies for all those um, other organizations with whom you deal with on a day-to-day basis and whose data is required to be there into the system, right? So for that purpose, you will have companies. To create companies, again, like just like locations, it's a very simple field. You can fill in the name, phone number, fax, street, city, state, zip code, stock symbol, stock price, and nodes. And then you have a checkbox which is known as customer. When you do customer, see, if this company that you are going to create is a customer of you, you have to check this out, right? Otherwise, this company may be a vendor of you, right? Or maybe a simple isolated company that you want to have a record of, right? So use this customer field to identify the company as your customer, right? Now location maps. We just created locations. There is one field, one module available as location map. If you go here, into this location map, you will see world map here with some pins on the world map. These pins will show whatever location that you have created there, right? So if I go ahead and create more locations, like I am into Let's see what this location is in Germany. It's in Frankfurt. If I go ahead and Nuremberg. So if you go ahead and create a new location, right, that location should come into this location map as a pin, right? So you can go ahead and try this, create locations and see on the location map if it appears or not, right? I leave it for you to do, I leave it for you for practicing. Let's go to countries. So when I go to countries, I see 231 records created already, right? And this is a very interesting form because within countries, you identify different stuffs here. You identify the name of the country, you provide some population, then you provide some ISO short information, some suffix, INS suffix, UN, numeric, fields, etc. Now, if I go ahead and click this one, uh, the relationships are not here. Okay, so the relationships will be there in companies and in departments when where you identify the countries for those locations or those companies, right? So for countries, you will have these many items and then you can create a new country, right? So these are some basic master data kind of information that you go ahead and create. These all come into the user administration. And these all will be required to put this information here when you create a new user, right? So for that you have all these information to be provided. Now let's go ahead and see what groups are, right? Now groups will be a set of people who have common objectives or who fall into common work area. So for that purpose you create groups within the system, right? Think from the perspective where you are maintaining an incident management application and there are 10 members in the team. When an incident comes, that incident is assigned to some person. Let's say it's assigned to Kabi. But then when that incident was assigned to Kabi was not actually in the office. He left for the day, right? And he's going on a vacation. So if that is the case, will that incident not be worked? That should be. But since this is an individual assignment, nobody else will be able to work on that. On the contrary, if you have a group that you can use for assignment and you put a group email ID or a distribution list email ID there, so whenever an incident is created, that incident will go to the group of people, right? So all those persons will be notified about the incident and then that incident will be picked up by one person from the group, right? So you are extending the assignability from one person to more than one person who fall into a group. Make sense? So for that purpose, you have groups in place. Now when you have groups in place, you can also associate roles to that group, right? You can associate n number of roles to the group. You can associate multiple roles to that group. All you have to do is go into the group, go into the roles related list, and then find out the roles that you want to associate to that group, save it, and that group will be associated to those roles that you have identified. Make sense? And you would wonder, where do we get this group, right? So let's quickly go into the incident application. Since we talked about incident application, I'll quickly go into the incident application and I'll see this assignment group field, right? So this field will populate information from the groups. See, these are the groups that I can see there in the group table: cab approval, change management, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, some 12, 14 groups we have, right? So you can either assign this incident to a group of people using this, or you can go ahead and pick any individual person from this assign to checkbox and assign it, right? So when you do assign to a single person, this is an individual assignment. But when you go ahead and pick a group, let's say hardware group, so all persons from the hardware group will be listed here. See, right now, there are 6 persons into this group, right? My name, Rahul, is not appearing in this hardware group. Let's go ahead and associate my name into this hardware group. So I'll go into the user administration section, go to groups and pick hardware group, and I'll go to group member, and I want to associate, I know that I want to associate a new user, which is Rahul in this case. So I'll go ahead and search for Rahul. I'll pick Rahul Rakesh in here, save it, update it. I'll go back to incident, create new incident. I'll go to, let's say, hardware group here, pick hardware, and this assigned to is a dependent field on the assignment group. So this time when I click on this assigned to, it will populate list of all people who fall into the hardware group. So I'll go ahead and click it. Was it not associated? It is not showing my email ID there. Let's go ahead and see groups, user administration groups, hardware. My name is here. Is it active or not? Active is true. Do we have more than one hardware group? Just have one hardware group. My name is here. That's correct. Now it should come there. If we create incident, pick hardware group. Yeah, now it is coming as my name. If I go here, this is not showing. So it looks like there is some data dictionary, some reference qualifier applied onto this one. Assigned to, let me quickly see. See, this group here, hardware group, is showing that my name has been associated here, right? Rahul Rakesh is being displayed here. But this one, this assignment group, may have some reference qualifiers. Reference qualifiers are some of the conditions that are used to qualify some of filter out data, right? So I'm assuming and I'm sure that this assignment 2 field is applying some reference qualifier using this configured dictionary, right? And that's why my name is not getting displayed here when we open up this assigned to field. We will come back to reference qualifiers and see when we talk about reference qualifiers, right? I'm not going to do that right now. So this is how you will have user administration and group association done, right? Now let's go ahead and create a group quickly. I'll go ahead and create a training user group, right? I'm not going to provide any group email ID because I don't have it. I'll put my email ID here and a group to maintain the list of all training attendees, and I'll submit it, right? I'll go ahead and I'll hit on training user group. It does not have a role association right now. It does not have group member. Let's go ahead and associate some member. I'll pick Rahul from here and I'll associate these two and I'll save it. So I have two Rahul records. When I go into group now, I can see that there are two records associated. You might wonder why do we have these two same named users here? Because the email ID may be different, right? We may see that the email IDs for these two users will be different. So this is rahul.rakesh@outlook.com. The other one would be a different email ID, right? So that's a different email ID at gmail.com. Now that we have associated this to users here, I can update it. Now if I go back on the incident form, create new, it should show me the training user group as well. And it will display that there are 2 users in training user group, right? So that's how you create group. Now let's talk about roles. So when you have created groups, let's think about roles. See, first of all, can anybody create a user or a group? No. Groups can only be created by those users who have user underscore admin role, right? So there are different system defined roles available in ServiceNow. You can see most of these are system defined roles. A couple of these could be roles defined by me as well, but most of these are system defined roles, and you can go ahead and look through each of these and find out what each of these individual roles do, right? For example, in this case, admin, this role will, the system administration role, this role has access to all system features, functions, data, regardless of security constraints. Grant this privilege carefully. If you have sensitive information such as HR records that you need to protect, you must create a custom admin role for that area and train a person authorized to see those records to act as an administrator, right? See, this is one way of implementing security as well, right? You do not want to allow everybody to see all of the information that you have in your environment, right? So for that, you'll create different roles, right? And people with a specific, authorization, role authorization will only be able to see that role or those interfaces, right? For that purpose, you have this role. Uh, you have to have this user underscore admin role to create a new group, right? User admin. This user, the person who has this user admin role can administrate users, groups, locations, and companies, right? So that's something that is required to create a user role or a group or locations or something, right? Now you can create your own custom roles as well. Let's see if I have a custom role created. See, I have a custom role created which is device underscore tester, right? And this role I created to allow those users who are authorized to test a device, right? This comes from a custom application that I built, which is known as device tracking application. So only those users have access to this device tracking application who have been assigned this role as device underscore tester. Make sense? Make sense? I hope you are not sleeping. Okay. Please ask questions if you need any help, any information. Right, so that's group and roles. Now, couple of more concepts before we close the session today. When you go into users, you can associate these users to a particular role, right? So this is user role association done here. If you go into group, you have roles here in the group section as well. So that's group role association. So for that purpose, in the role delegation submodule, role delegation section here, you will see user roles and group roles. When you do user roles, it will show you user and role association. When you do group roles, it will show you group and role association information, right? So you can associate roles to a user, you can associate roles to a group, right? So both ways, you can do both. Now, I forgot to discuss about this enable auto processing user request when we allow the user to request for auto registration, self registration. That is available in system properties. Oh, I think we discussed it, right? Yeah, we did. We did. Under system properties, you have this property, enable auto processing of user registration request. So that gives you ability to automatically process that, right? Anything else? Enter to user groups. Okay. Company we did. Department we did. Creating groups we did. We'll come back to user object. Okay. Now let's see one more thing. User administration. There is one thing available in these list of modules is delegates, right? See, what if you are the manager of your team and you go on vacation, right? Do you have you can you can identify delegates for yourself while you are available not available in the office, right? So for that purpose you have delegates. You create your own delegates, right? And those persons who you identify as delegates will be able to do these activities while you are not available in office, right? So while creating delegates, you pick a user from the user list. For example, in this case, I am going to make a delegation to Rahul Rakesh, right? Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the user whose responsibility you are going to delegate. For example, Rahul is going to delegate its responsibility to somebody known as, let's say, Hillary Holmes, right? And this is a start date. It is supposed that it is assumed that Rahul is starting to go go on vacation starting from 7th of June, and he'll come back from vacation on 1st of January 2020, right? So until then, I'm going to make Hillary Holmes as my delegate, and this person, Hillary Holmes, will be able to do approvals on my behalf, assignments on my behalf. He or she will be CC'd into all email notifications, and this person, Hillary Holmes, can accept meeting invitations from ServiceNow as well, right? So that's why you create delegates. When you are not available for work, then you can cascade your responsibility to somebody else, and that comes into delegation section, right? So you can identify your delegates from here as well in the related list, where you can go ahead and create a new delegate for yourself. Make sense? These delegates can do approvals for you, right? So if you are a manager, you are not in office, right, and you are unable to approve something, your delegate will be able to do that, because that delegate will be CC'd on all emails as well, and that person will see the pending approvals in in my approval section in the service desk, right? This is the section where all the approval requests will come to you, right? Whatever you have to approve will come to you and will be listed here, right? So if somebody requested a change request, or a task came to myself for approval and I am not in office, this task will also be displayed in the my approval section of the delegate, and that delegate person can go ahead and approve or reject that request. Make sense? So that's all for today.